Welcome to the Filmmaker Mixer podcast, the podcast by filmmakers for filmmakers.
This episode is sponsored by Gemini Crown Tech, software for all of your production needs. Stay tuned for more information later in the show.
Hello, everybody. This is the Filmmaker Mixer podcast, and today we are chatting with Wax Tabor. She's the editor behind the PBS Docuseries The Class, which follows 6 high school seniors from Deer Valley High School navigating the challenges of applying to college during a pandemic year, all under the mentorship of their dedicated college advisor, Mr. Cam. Welcome.
Thanks, man. Glad to be here.
So how did you get involved with the class and kind of what drew you to the project?
Oh, dude. So there's 2 answers. There's the basic answer if you're not into crazy things that happen. The basic answer is a friend of mine was booked and she reached out to me and said, hey, they're looking for someone. And I said, it seems like a perfect fit. Let's go. Mm-hmm. Or the crazy answer, which is, so the class is about Mr. Cam, this college advisor, this amazing college advisor, and his students. And he worked for something called the Educational Opportunity Program. And ironically, I am an educational opportunity student. I wouldn't have gotten into college without the Educational Opportunity Program. And my Mr. Cam had passed away 2 weeks prior to me being offered the job.
Wow.
And so we believe, the royal we, and his wife and the other counselors and the director of the EOP program, who I had just been hugging in Buffalo 2 weeks prior, we all believed that Will had something to do with it. For sure. Very full circle.
Could you maybe explain real quick what the Educational Opportunity Program is?
Oh, it's so amazing. It's sometimes misunderstood. So I'm always happy to shout it to the rooftops. The Educational Opportunity Program, it's also can be called the Educational Development Program. There are different programs all over the country. It's a state-by-state basis. The one that helped me was founded by Arthur O. Eve, who was a local politician who believed in higher education for all. And it is a very small funded program that just pays for counselors, advisors to help students through the application process into college, and then once in college, helps them navigate that scene. And it's for students that need that kind of assistance, whether it is they don't have any families, or they don't have families that can offer that kind of support for whatever reason, whether it is financial or emotional. I myself was orphaned, so I didn't have that kind of parental support, nor did I think that I would ever be accepted. And so depending on the program by program basis, they are either there for you in high school and or in college to help you navigate and get this and get the things you need in order to succeed. They do not pay for your education. And people think that, no, you still have to take out your student loans. You still have to pay them back. If you follow their direction and you honor the sacrifices they made with their careers to help you, and you get good grades, then they help you get through with scholarships. So that helps as well.
And so you were brought on as a finishing editor for this series, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I was brought in as an editor. There were
okay.
1, 2, 3. There were 4 of us.
Okay.
There were 2 that were OG editors from way back in the day when this started 4 years ago. Then it was shelved. Then it was picked up again, and there was a mad rush to get all 6 episodes done. Only 1 was in the can.
Oh, okay.
So they brought me in along with another editor, and the 4 of us just charged ahead. And then when it came to the end, the directors really liked what I did. And so they asked me if I could be the finishing editor for all episodes.
Okay. Interesting. So what is that like? Kind of tying in both your last answer and this answer too, in terms of having a similar background as maybe the subject and then also being the editor. Was there a benefit to that at all? I feel like there had to have been.
Oh yeah. I mean, dude, it was crazy. So this was 30 years ago for me. And yet I was having flashbacks. Like I was having anxiety about filling out my financial aid forms all over again. Am I going to be able to afford books? Am I going to be able to afford housing? It was really funny. Um, it's kind of a plus and a minus, because with documentaries like this, which are they're real documentaries, right? I mean, there's docufollow and there's other kinds that they're about real people, but you might up the anxiety a little bit. You might raise the stakes a little bit in edit. In the field, the story producers might pitch questions that will get them to talk about certain things. But with this, it is just docufollow, run and gun, right? And the directors would ask questions of the subjects, but more like, how are you feeling? Are you okay? What's going on now? That kind of stuff. So I wanted to honor that and be as impartial as I could when I was editing, right? I didn't want to add extra drama where there was, or play favoritism with any of the students, though that's hard because they're just the coolest kids. And so that made it difficult because I related to them and I wanted to make these kids seem like these miraculous human beings. And in reality, that's not true. We're all flawed, right? I mean, we're all a little flawed in our own ways. But lucky for me, they're just the most beautiful humans with the best intentions. And so their flaws were the kind of flaws we all can relate to, feeling downtrodden, not being motivated sometimes, feeling that imposter syndrome. So, it was a plus because I felt for them, but it was a minus because I wanted to give them a little nudge, and I had to keep checking myself and going, no, let it play out, because these subjects are going to be much more relatable if you see them for all sides of their personality,
Yeah, I mean, so when you brought on to start editing, were they done filming already and it was just the post process, or were they still continuing the stories as you were going?
What happened was they started doing this amazing documentary, and then the pandemic hit, and they went, oh my God, what are we going to do? We can't do this anymore. But because of the support of this amazing executive producer who is a educator herself, and David Diggs, who jumped in and said, no, this is possible. They figured out a way around it. They kept going. They finished filming the series, and then in entertainment, which is what this all still is, if the audience says we don't want this, then no network or platform is going to want to air it. And so the basic gist was people don't want to see stuff about the pandemic.
Yeah.
But they just didn't. They didn't. So whomever was originally going to air this said, if you can cut around the pandemic, then we'll use it. Well, that's just not possible. So it was shelved. And so the bonus is that when they came back to it a few years later, so many things had happened. And so while the entire series was completely filmed and everything in the first in all 6 episodes were from the original shoots, there was hindsight's 50-50. There was a kind of a clearer perspective of what really happened, because everyone was going through it, right? The directors were going through the pandemic as well as the students while it was happening, the camera people, the producers, everybody. So the story was, the way the story was told was adjusted in edit. And then, of course, we had to adjust the way we structured the final episode, because now we had 4 years of history on these students. By the time the series aired, these students, if they did get into college, because I'm not going to give anything away, were going to be graduating college.
Oh, yeah.
So we had the where are they nows were like a large portion of the end of the final episode, which we had a write-up in the New York Times recently, and it was in the first paragraph. She's like, I somehow knew She said something about how she somehow knew that the Where Are They Nows were going to be just something really, really exciting.
Hmm.
And it didn't disappoint. She was really, really blown away. Yeah. So it wasn't any new filming that was done, but it was a whole new perspective that was
Okay.
taken.
Have you gotten to meet any of these subjects or
Oh yeah. Oh
yeah?
yeah. So I made friends with them on socials, as you
Hmm.
do.
Yeah.
And then when we had our premiere and David was there and all the students. And I had warned some of them when we were talking before we all met in person. I'm like, just so you know, people are gonna go running up to you and they're gonna be behaving like you're their best friend. And it's because we've lived with you
Hmm.
for the past X, Y, and Z amount of time. And so we know everything about you. We know every facial expression, every nuance. We know about all your personality. We know your family. I'm like, so just don't be weirded out when people come running up and start hugging you. So it was a really emotional moment when we all got to see each other. Because we could have lost a few of them along the way.
Hmm.
That's all I'll say. But
Hmm.
there was some scary moments, and so it was good to see all of them happy and healthy and thriving.
Well, I mean, staying on like the emotional side, I'm curious, were there any moments in any particular episodes that either you found and you really had to fight for, or were so bummed you had to cut out of the series?
Oh, oh, the cutting room floor.
Yeah.
We don't work in film, but
Hmm.
I see it all over the floor. It was very blessing and a curse. Um, I attribute that to the amazing DP, the amazing audio techs, the amazing directors, and then these remarkable subjects. They required no prompting. The camera people just flowed naturally with what was going on. There would usually be one or two cameras because it was the pandemic, so we had to be really careful. But they got a lot. They got a lot. It was so hard to
Hmm.
choose what to use and what not to use. Um, and we would often say, I wish that there was the funds to do a little online micro series,
Yeah.
just like back in the day, there'd be the DVD extras.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that was before my editing time, but I remember as a kid, there'd be the DVD
Hmm.
extras. Yeah, no DVD extras. So there's a lot that wasn't used. There was all the scenes I wanted got used, which was
Oh,
nice.
nice. Yeah.
Um, there, which was really, yeah, it was really nice. It um, it was uh, it was interesting because the pandemic, which forced them to be more conservative in filming, is I think what ended up saving us because they got hours and hours and hundreds of hours of footage. But can you imagine if the pandemic didn't exist? It would have been 8 times harder
Oh,
because
yeah.
these kids were so compelling.
Hmm.
And there was so much going on,
Hmm.
in our lives. I think the only thing that I think we wished we could have done is added a more global view of their the education side of it, what they were studying and their classes and how that was, affecting their lives. But we had to choose a point of view where this could have gone on for two,
Hmm.
3 seasons.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So instead, we focused on. Yeah, directors were so smart. They said, let's focus on the their how they're emotionally handling this pandemic, because in the end, what's the loudest voice in the room,
Hmm.
and that's the pandemic. It was for all of us, right?
Yeah, no, I totally get it. I'm curious. We interviewed another editor a few months ago, and they were giving us this little like Easter egg that like one of the scenes in the documentary, it was only filmed with one
Yes.
camera in a cafe, but you would have thought it was a two camera setup with how they edited it. I'm
Yeah.
curious if you have any Easter eggs of your own that when you watch it, you're like looking to see if anyone notices or anything like that.
Oh Lord, let me tell you. Um, so there's a so there's two things. So the first one is so there was a lot of sports, right?
Mhm.
And they also had me as the sports editor, so I edited all the sports
Okay.
scenes. There was basketball, there was football, there was track, cheerleading. There was once the school opened up and they were allowed to do this, it was a free for all. And so it was really interesting because, oh, uh, you know, you're trying to edit a football game, right?
Hmm.
And I think they were just shooting it with the idea that it would be like, and here's football.
Yeah, yeah.
But the football games ended up being incredibly compelling. They
Yeah.
ended up being a story in and of themselves, how they were the underdogs. And then I won't say what
Mhm.
happens next, but it was enough that they said we need to show the whole game.
Uh-huh.
We didn't have the whole game.
Yeah, yeah.
We didn't. You need, what is it, 30 for 30 and NFL films. There's like
Oh,
16 cameras and
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I mean, there were three, which is great,
Yeah.
but we didn't have the audio to the announcer. We didn't have the players weren't mic'd up, and
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
so lucky for me, I'm a huge tomboy. I'm a sports addict, and so I could, I knew, first down, second down, and so I made this ridiculous graph on my wall, like I was doing a play-by-play.
Oh,
And
you're following the game, you're trying to figure out what's going on, like in the
I have
footage.
no idea what's going on.
Yeah, yeah.
I have no idea because you can't hear the announcer half the time.
Hmm.
And so I'm trying to figure out. So I literally had to post-mortem go backwards, figure out what the hell happened in this game.
Hmm.
And then, because we didn't even have a shot of a scoreboard all the time, it was just
Hmm.
sometimes. And
Yeah.
then figure out how we got from the first quarter, third down, to halftime with like all these different, like, where was that penalty? How did this happen?
Hmm.
And so I know I kind of am like sitting in the corner, peeking between my fingers,
Yeah.
because I'm sure there are, editors, sports fans out there that'll look at it and go, how did that happen? I'm like, I tried. I tried my best. I really did.
Hmm.
So there was that, which I just was so crazy. And then the other one, which I just love. So there's a moment, I think it's in, God, I so hard to keep all the episodes straight. It was 104, 105, 103. Evie, one of our students, is on an automated phone call system.
Hmm.
And she is trying to get information. She's trying to get assistance to deal with her financial aid application. And anyone can relate, even if you've not done the financial aid process,
Yeah.
you've waited on an automated line
Hmm.
for something, and you've said what you wanted and it didn't listen. And
Hmm.
so the what you see in that scene, I think, is a quarter. I think it's 1/4 of the length
Wow.
of this struggle that this poor girl had. And what I want, it took everything in my power not to just like fight to have everything in there. The things that got cut were crazy. At one point, all she did was sigh, and it thought that she had made one of the choices of the list,
Yeah,
and it
yeah.
took her in a completely different direction.
Yeah.
She's been 30 minutes in, and now she had to hang up and start all over again.
Wow. Yeah.
Like, there could have been a whole episode on that damn phone call, and I really wish that people could have seen it, simply because it would have been like therapy. Like, next time you're stuck on one of those
Yeah.
automated lines. Ugh. But lucky for her, and lucky for me, she had a really good sense of humor.
Hmm.
And so I just leaned into that. And instead of making it an aggravating and stressful scene within the episode, I just tried to make it as funny as
Yeah.
possible.
No, that totally works. I mean, so I'm curious, like, you've worked on some high profile projects like Down to Earth with Zac Efron, Plan in Peril, and Behind Attraction. I'm curious, is coming to a docuseries like this, did those projects prepare you, or is this just something completely different?
Well, it's funny because there's a lot of similarities between that and Down to Earth.
Hmm.
Down to Earth, I love that series. I was lead editor and supervising producer on that. Well, post supervising producer. And that was an interesting one because a lot of these travel series, they they have someone who sets everything up. They have a fixer and they set the whole thing up ahead of time and everything's kind of pre-planned and blah blah blah. And we had that. We had a full, we had a great field crew and whatever. But I, I'm not quite sure what the intention was, but it was incredibly run and gun. They just went for it.
Hmm.
It was just Zach and his EP and his production partner and his brother and another one of his friends, and
Hmm.
then our camera guys who were also his friends, and Jackie, like who was like out in the field, and like they were just having a free for all. They were done, bing, 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 bing.
Hmm.
And so then they just went here,
Clean it up. Yeah.
here, here,
Yeah.
make this a story.
Hmm.
And so we had a story producer in post, and him and I just sat there. There's pictures of him sitting on the floor with one of my dogs, and all the colored index cards. And we're just going, so he would shape it into some kind of semblance of a story arc. And then I'd have to take these scenes that were not staged in any way and
Hmm.
make them interesting and compelling and find where the humor was and where the inspiration was and all that stuff. So it wasn't as cut and dry. It was very um, it was high impact. It was high impact editing. And I realized how much I liked that. I
Uh-huh.
liked having to figure out who are these people, what is their personality traits, what are their nonverbal quirks, what is it about the environment that's interesting, and then lean into that in the edit to make each place where Zach went a new and interesting place where new, interesting, and bizarre things happened. Um, and you can't stage that.
Yeah.
And so then when I came to the class, it was the same thing, but for different reasons.
Hmm.
They just they believed, let's just document. This
Yeah.
is enough. And because of that, I had now been well trained to go, okay, let me sit here with the footage. And I have an acting background. I was a child actor. And so we used to do scene study,
Hmm.
character study. And then in college, I was obsessed with nonverbal communication. And so I took those things and I would take each of these students and I would do a little character study of them. Who are they?
Yeah.
And really learn who they are. So that I don't think I would have been as well equipped to just dive right in and know what I had to do if I hadn't gone through the down to earth gauntlet.
Interesting. I could have,
Yeah,
I know we're running out of time. I could ask you like 20 more questions. We could easily, we will definitely need to have you back on sometime. But
love to.
before we go, of course, the class is out now on PBS so for people to check out. But more importantly, if they want to follow your career, where can they follow you? Social media, websites, anything?
You can find me on Insta at Wax Tabor. I have a TikTok, but I haven't been active because I am up to here in a film right now. Um, and so I haven't had time to play. But yeah, that or Facebook at Wax Tabor. But Insta is my place. I'm a visual storyteller, and it's a visual storyteller platform.
No, I
So
totally get it. I mean, it sounds
yeah,
like you're staying busy, which is the greatest part, right?
dude, I'm trying.
Yeah.
I'm working for my dog just sighed. Exactly, Moosh. I'm working for way, way less than I ever have worked, but I'm working on really great projects.
Hmm.
And, you know, in the end, I'm just an artist who just wants to tell stories.
Hmm.
So I'm getting to tell stories.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. Well,
Okay, I'll abide, right? It's got to get better eventually. So as long as I get to tell stories, I'll live in a box on a street corner. I don't care.
well, hopefully that it doesn't come to yet, and we can, have you on again on the show in the future for any other projects. It was great chatting with you again, and I want to just thank you again for coming on, talking about the class and your career.
Dude, you too, man. Thanks so much. I had a good time.
This episode is sponsored by Gemini Crown Tech, owned and operated by Stephanie Moore and Stephanie Harrison. We at Gemini Crown Tech have covered all your production management needs with our proprietary software. Please visit our website at www.geminicrowntech.com and use the code FMP for Filmmaker Mixer podcast listeners, so we know how you heard about us.
Thank you for listening to the Filmmaker Mixer podcast, a podcast created and hosted by filmmakers Jeff Stolen and Andrew Lamping, and produced by Melody Lopez.
Our theme song was composed by Stephen D. Bennett.
Make sure to follow or subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to us on, and stay tuned for future episodes.